We can probably start. We have about 173. So thank you everyone for joining us. This is great. I'm gonna let Jose introduce the speakers, and I'll come back at the end to moderate the Q&A. But I'll be around, and Jose, it's all yours.
Yes, Olivier, please be around, okay?
Yeah.
And I get something. Can you remind? I wanted to remind everybody that at the end of this lecture, for those working on CEUs for the AIA, need to contact Professor Max Underwood, my colleague at ASU. What an introduction. Welcome everybody. This is the first of a series of lectures, a webinar on issues ranging from adaptive reuse, community memory, today with Eva Prats and Ricardo Flores. And we have other lectures coming soon. And you all are aware of the program. I would like to move forward and introduce our speakers today, Eva Prats and Ricardo Flores. You have seen in our communications statements sent by Eva and Ricardo. Today, I wanted to share with you in this introduction only three aspects that have been with me for a while after visiting their work and mostly speaking with them and learning through them. There are three aspects that I find they are very important in the work of the studio. One of them is the deep love and deep understanding of regional cultures. They are very rigorous, exploring aspects that relate to the work. I will give you an example that is always in my mind. Visiting their studios, they immediately engage the visitor, explaining not only the architectural aspects, but also how ventilation is crossing in their apartment, in their flat, how the layers of light impact how you experience a moment in their studio. I always remember with great love how some of the mosaics in the tiles used to click, click. I was always anticipating that moment of the tile about to be broken. I remember the moment where we will ring their office when they will describe the history of how the door was being locked because of the history of Spain. So I always respect that. This might sound like minutia, but I think it's incredible, important, revealing the quality, the human quality of these two designers. The second aspect is they see designers research. In one way or another, every designer does research when the work is being produced. I will say that in this particular office, design is research, and research means designing. This implies, and this is an advancing an interpretation that probably is not totally correct, this implies that the work of Prats and Flores and Prats are imbued by certain quality of slowness. There is this caring for the shadows, care for the memories, learning from individuals that visited the place before. So there is certain anthropological quality in their work because they really look at research of the human being, and there is also an enrichment through their patient research with the archaeological inquiry of the building. I'm deeply honored to introduce today Eva Prats and Ricardo Flores, and welcome. And now you are in the desert with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Jose.
Thank you, Jose. Thank you
very
much.
nice seeing you and knowing we are back in Phoenix for a while. No? That we have been teaching there and visiting a lot of times, and also having the visits from Jose and a lot of students to our studio, and also some other architects from Phoenix coming to Barcelona for exchange. So thank you very much for the invitation. And yes, we will talk today about some projects on adaptive reuse. So we call the lecture secondhand. We relate it to clothes, but we think with architecture you also kind of deal as when you buy and you are given a secondhand clothes from someone, and it seems that it takes you a while to get to relate properly with it, and maybe sometimes you need to make some fixing, some sewing, or yes, some adaptations. But the aim is that it fits to you, and you feel comfortable inside of it. So when we deal with a building, or you're going to occupy a building, it's also nice to know about the qualities of it, as when you have this second-hand clothes, that because of you like it. But also you as architects, we want that the occupation will be very easily after a while, so that it really will accommodate to the body of the people who will embed it, or who will reoccupy it or inherit. So and somehow having a very actual look to it, very yes. So we wanted to start showing some pictures of the studio that Jose was describing, also of the styles that move. Sorry, the first image. We are based in Barcelona, and we occupy an old apartment house of 19th century. We have been occupying it and its rooms for some years, so there is an accumulation of projects and models and drawings and presents from friends, even things that no one in the family wants, like this mirror. We have it in our studio all around us. It's a place that somehow has organized our office with the rooms and the spaces it has. We have set this order. Then the main, the space with more dimension is the corridor. This corridor is 30 meters long. I don't know in feet, 90 feet, no. Well, it takes like 15 seconds or more to go from one side to the other. And sometimes when it helps to think, because you walk this for a quarter of a minute, and sometimes you find yourself on the other end and you think where I came from, but maybe it has been useful to keep thinking. And the whole apartment has these beautiful tiles, and they change in every room. So also it's a very nice sequence when you move through the corridor and you find these tiles, that each tile has these edges, and some of them move and makes noises, so we know which ones we don't have to step on. So all these different colors and different decoration on each one, it's something that we really appreciate. Then also we like from this place that we have been occupying it, and we have adopted, and we are using all parts of it, doors. We also like that the doors are very different. Sometimes the doors are two, they part in two. Sometimes it's only one door, but it has some glasses on the top, as you can see in the top, a little bit hidden here in the picture, for ventilation or for getting light through it. But they change the reliefs, a lot of decoration. So the light cast different drawings on them, and we like these variations and the non-systematic way of responding. We found in this old apartment a big cupboard for clothes for the house, and we use it to store a lot of models. We test a lot for our project, so we fabricate a lot for one project. And in this case, it's a building in Palma de Mallorca, in the island, half an hour plane, very close to here. And we kind of classify a lot of tests we did for the roof of this palace, because there was a very difficult kind of a geometrical issue because of the different centuries of growth of it. And we try to be organized with the help of this cupboard. all the models came after drawing. So we build them they grow little by little as we know about the building, and we first draw and then we test matters of scale in the model. And sometimes the model are not finished because we just test the part that it's of interest for us or that we have doubts about it. In this moment, this used to be the old kitchen of this apartment. And in this case, you see there is a big model in the foreground, no, first ground of the image. And this is the Sala. It's an old building that we have to reaccommodate. It's called Sala Beckett. It's a competition that we won, and right after winning, we came with one of these models to show it to the board of Sala Beckett, that it's a drama center, and the board is it's like 15 playwrights or theater director, people in the theater world, very good playwrights, local playwrights. And it was very interesting to see how they get very much involved into the physical, into the presence of the model, and how they participate. They are used to work with models for scenography, so it was familiar for them. And it had been all the process that last almost 4-6 years. We were using models, and it was very easy to, it was a really help to communicate. But as you can see, they open and you can see inside of them. Okay, so this is the board of Sala Beckett, but what Sala Beckett does is the director. They are called Sala Beckett after Samuel Beckett, the playwright, Irish playwright. And he was still alive when they asked permission to use his name. He accepted. And Sala Beckett is this drama center that organize a lot of workshops with good playwrights that come to Barcelona for 2 weeks, maybe organize a workshop. And they put on stage for the first time a lot of new writings. So it's a theater that is very much related to what's happening on the street, what's important, the matters that important society at this very moment. And they put it on stage, so they provide the actors, they provide you the venue, that it's this Sala Beckett, it's this building. Okay. And so Sala Beckett has been working in Barcelona for about 25 years, and they had to change the venue, and the municipality, because they have a reputation, so the municipality took care of the problem that they have to move, and they offer this building. This building is in the west part of site. Before Sala Beckett was much more in a central situation in Barcelona. This is the west part, is the former workers area of Barcelona. Here in this picture, maybe you will see a chimney at the background, but it's mainly already housing. So there is like a second generation buildings around it. But the old building stays there, and it used to be a workers' club. Used to be, it's this building in 2 levels. The first ground was just a grocery store, and the first level was the leisure program. They have a theater and a bar, and a big bar. And it used to be like this, so the aspect was very different the beginning. So you see the first floor, there was a central entrance, and on the ground level, you could find this beautiful grocery store, full of good things, and with natural light, and the kind of tiles very similar to the ones we have in our studio. So this was very familiar. But when we won the competition, the building had been abandoned for 30 years, and there were remains of the last business that were there. There was a gym on the ground floor level, and all these tiles, all the windows have disappeared. They blocked all the facade with these glasses. They also had this swimming pool, kind of a Roman swimming pool with this ventilation pipe, incredible. No traces of the old workers' cooperative. But on the first floor, when we go up, even in very bad conditions, but there were still some atmosphere of these times. So we are in the scenario, in the scene of the stage of the old theater. And this is the theater. Okay, so the rain was getting in, pigeons, also natural light. And the building, the issue is that the building was not listed. So one main decision of the competition was what to do with it, because it's Sala Beckett, it's mainly a theater of words and silence. So it's had to perform perfectly acoustically. So it was the main decision to take. We were thinking there was going to be a future. This was the former bar, still with the glass there, the mirror. And Yeah, here when we were visiting the building, the 5 teams competing, and the director told us, okay, this building is full of stories, and Sala Beckett writes new stories. So this is encouraging for us to have these around us when we come to work, for sure. But I want the building to perform perfect. So it's up to you to decide if this can have a future for us or not. Of course, we love what we were looking around. We love everything. So after winning the competition, we spent like 3 months there drawing, taking measures, and making a huge inventory of all this stuff of doors and windows. Also because we know somehow it's a common material in Barcelona, and sometimes builders don't appreciate it, and they threw it away. So we draw it carefully so that he had to take things out very carefully without breaking anything. I have a video that shows a little bit the story of this, what happens with these doors and how many we found. Let me show it to you now. Let's see if it works. Okay, we made it in our studio, 44 doors and 35 windows for the new Sala Beckett. So this is initial status on the first floor is where we found all these treasures. And you can see the project as we draw it. So some of the windows and doors remain on the same place, but they change colors at the end of the works. And then some of them are like flying in our minds because we knew that we wanted that everything will be kept there, but we didn't know where they would be placed because we still had to draw everything. We draw the new circulation. And, okay, so very little different dimensions of them. Some of them have glasses. They allow the light from the facade get inside the building. So they change the color. So the first floor is completed and we go to the ground floor and we still have a few elements remaining on the first floor. So like these 2 big doors that travel together to the wall that relates the bar and the vestibule. So because this was we wanted to have a very strong communication between these two, vestibule and bar. Very small ones that go to the toilets, another little one that will go to the kitchen, and this red one goes to the dressing room. And then this will become a cupboard for the administration part of the building that it's facing the street. So again, color change, and also some of the ones that between the bar and the vestibule will become even bigger than what they were. So all this stuff was kind of familiar. It was the same period of our studio. So we were like the staircase. So we made this video to explain what happened to all this amount of things that we really reuse. And it was interesting for us when they came back to the site, because they have to be outside for a while in storage. And they came and they brought with them all this memory and richness, because also it happens that each door, even similar sizes, have some different partitions. So everyone is not done in a systematic way. It was done during the week, the holidays, that every week, every Sunday, they will meet and they build the building by themselves, the workers. So also the carpenter make a different door or window every Sunday. Okay, so these are the characters of the film, passing and passing, a lot of them. It was very good to have the inventory, because as you can have seen, there were a lot, and then also for a while, some of them stay on site. Some others went to another stockage and warehouse and storage and came back later. So when there was a moment for the windows and doors to came back to the site, there were a couple of very good carpenters, and with them we were commenting how we will be able to cut this window that had to be a little bit shorter, and they were moving around the building every time, having the workshop in a different room. This was very nice. We made the same exercise with the tiles, so that we take them away and we store them for a few months. We have the inventory, so we know how many we have of each piece, how many of the edges. And also we knew that they were going to be placed in another side, because the old bar was full of these beautiful tiles, but it became a rehearsal room. And then it's better to have a wooden floor for them, so they can nail some scenography on top of it, and also it's more comfortable for them. So all the tiles we got from here could be used in another place. And we thought about also making the edges of these tiles to move around. So we are testing this in our studio in the corridor, let's see, with paper, to see what happens with the edges of it, because we wanted to make the circular shape in an area that there is a red sofa in this area. And we were testing in the studio first, one by one, that the drawing of these leaves that you see here, this kind of oak leaf, it's continuous, so you don't lose it even if you cut the piece, the tile in a trapezius. Okay, all these kind of tests, but manipulating. But we really wanted that the building will work with this material that we found there, but placed in with the new use, no? Like the second-hand clothes that really fits you properly. So we wanted that all the tiles that we took from the first floor and go to the ground floor, they will draw and the relationship between the bar and the vestibule, and these edges will describe you that it works as a one. They are very linked together. So we are in the bar now, and this is the picture. This is basically the picture of the old gymnasium. So under the pillars, we discovered the old pillars were still there, and we show them, and then the tiles from the first door go down, and somehow with the tiles that we found on the walls that are kind of greenish, we paint green some pieces, and we paint green the two big doors and the window that will relate this bar with the vestibule. All these lattice of these windows and doors were very useful for us to make this communication. So when the light is on, we see the administration and the red wall of a red sofa that it's there. At the other side of these doors and windows, it's brown, is the brown they used to have, but all these traces of some staircase to mezzanine levels that we took them away because we wanted to recuperate this very generous space of the original cooperative. But all these traces, also there used to be another staircase here, a door that doesn't open now. The door that was going to the theater now goes to the director room, and the new bench, someone's waiting for him to attend. These old decorations were in the theater, the ceiling was falling down, so we couldn't recuperate the whole ceiling, but we keep some of this decoration and we apply them again as decoration. So everything had the same use that it used to have on the previous drawing. So it was very much very pragmatic, no interpretation. No? Things are what they used to be. In the central vestibule, this picture is the central vestibule on the ground floor level and the first level. Here is where the project gets more intense, also because all the circulation is going around these walls. It has this old wall. It was a very thin wall, has a responsibility of guiding people around the building up and to the theater upstairs, also to the classes, the workshops that are upstairs, but also on the ground floor level, it makes you go all the way from the street that will be on the right hand to the left that we will have another theater. So there's a theater downstairs, a theater upstairs, and workshops upstairs also. And the natural light guiding the people around this wall. This is the model that we start applying colors because we thought that this project probably had to do a lot with colors. So usually they are more monochrome, but in this case we start putting in. And then here is the floor slab in the center, is a new floor slab with two big holes that allow the light go down into the vestibule. Okay, so this drawing we made after finishing all the construction documents, and we call this drawing is called Theater All Over the Building. And it's because the theater goes out into the vestibule, into the bar, from the bar to the street. So we were thinking that the whole building will be very kind of theatrical, and somehow they have been using it to make theater a little bit in the vestibule, in different rooms, but also the way people move around this very thin wall that you can see it here. It's just 15 centimeters, very, very thin. And you cross it and you appear very quickly, and casual encounters were very important here. No? When you meet the teacher that you have had in the class, you meet him in the corridor and you ask something, or also you meet with friends. So it's all this community of the theater that has occupied this building and find its place and move through it very easily. And at the end of this corridor, there are the classes that is the more private part of this, or the program of this building. But it's very connected, very intuitively and very direct to the street, to the most public part. So it is not only a theater, so there are things happening all over the day. They open at 10, And by the end of the day, there are the exhibits of a theater that happens. But during the day, the whole lot of things are happening. So in the central part of this first floor is this skylight that we open, cutting the floor slab and making this quarter of a bolt and getting the light from the other side of this wall. So it's differ. We don't see the window, but it's in the other side of the wall. For us, it was important to get this new energy into, and with trust in natural light, to get this quality in the middle of the building, where you can see traces of the old cooperative, but also the traces of this new occupancy, like this new sewing we have made to reoccupy it, but also the years of abandon. These are different chapters that there is no hierarchy. No, they appear all with the same importance. This ray of light, of course, reminds us of the first visit to the building. When we found this ray of light there was a menace of rain and pigeons getting inside the building, but also was this hope, because it really looks like a electric light, no? And the scene was going to start.
So all this work of abandon, reusing and abandoned structure, of adaptive reuse that Eva was explaining now, that we started with Sala Beckett, we repeated more recently in a project we won in a competition in Brussels. And this project is to transform an ancient theater, which is called Centre Variétés, in the old town of Brussels, into a center for civic debate and meetings and also performances. This is a building that was in use until 30 years, also more or less 25, 30 years ago, and then it was abandoned. We won this competition together with an office from Brussels itself. It's called West Architecture. We are doing it together. And the competition was like 1.5 years ago, and we are working since 12 months already. The building was in a state of ruin as well, as we are seeing now, because it was abandoned, but it was also occupied. It was different occupations. The last one had been a fire as well, and so the structure is not in a very good state. But still, the building is very impressive. It's in a building in an area that used to be full of nightclubs and nightlife. Is this building that is painted in black in the center of the image here? But you can see around it is the Teatro Nacional, all series of big facilities related to the night spectacle, nightlife. Is in a moment when in Europe expanded all this world of the night, the electric Brussels was called in the 20s and 30s. The Variétés building was there. It was designed by Victor Bourgeois, an architect from the CIM, the modern movement. And it was a very, very, very elegant, white, and with this, galleries and the very fine windows and doors, and this lamp, very, very tall lamp, announcing it from far away, its presence in this old town. So the area is still the same. The building is still there, as you can see, the facade. The only thing is that the area today is in a very decadent condition, also full of, it's a place of drugs and prostitution, and the building itself, of course, is blocked because it has been occupied, as I said already. So, but you can still find inside the presence of the old theater, and it's a building that connects two streets, as you can see in the image now. Is in the left, you see the facade I was showing you from Mr. Bourgeois. In the right, the facade is much more like a backstage facade. It's a narrower street. It's much more a kind of, all backstage of theaters, like kind of London West End atmosphere, if you want, with a brick, and it's very, very powerful as well, but it's much more a rare facade. And then, so this is very nice that the building is connecting these two streets. You can see in the plan, is Rue Malin is the main one. Rue Saint Pierre is the secondary one. But if you look around in this drawing that we made, kind of an all-in plan, just showing all the public condition of around it, is full of hotels and theaters and big volumes of air, places for dancing and performing around us. So all the lobbies and all theater spaces from hotels and theater themselves are around us. So we are surrounded by this empty condition of the interiors, and the Variétés itself impressed us, because in the program of the competition they were asking for two performing spaces for performing music, one very big for 1,000 people, the other smaller for 400 people standing, for 200 seated. And but besides that, they were asking an open space, what they call a forum, a place where everyone could come in, move in, and see around, and even sometimes here for a debate, kind of an open kind of a street condition, if you want. So when we entered and we saw this space already like empty and with this volume of air, we thought that the place that they were asking in the competition was already there. We thought if we can save, let's say, or keep this this empty space with this Cache de Seine, which is the fly tower here in front of the scenario up there, and all this volume of air inside, which is very surprising and very unique. That was already the public condition that they were asking for. So we organized all the competition, trying to locate these two performing spaces, these two performing rooms, without touching or losing this the scale of this empty space that we found, in order to have it already there, to have the street condition that we were asking for. The only thing that this space lacked, of course, was natural light for us to have this condition of a street, of a public space. So we organized that the Cache de Seine, the former flight tower, could become a light well, a big light well, to bring light into the forum. And the two rooms, the big room is hanging on top of the entry, and the smaller room is excavated under the grades that we found. So all these grades that you find, that you see in the section facing the forum that I'm showing now, facing the forum, are above the Petite Salle, and you are in this common spaces, you're under the big salle, which is above you. So in a way, one is the floor, the other one is the sky, and you pass there and you don't realize that you're in a way passing in between these two spaces, but you are attracted by the natural light of the Cache de Seine. You get in, you see something, you can hear someone, I don't know, playing a guitar, or a debate, or conference, a lecture, or something is free. You don't pay in these spaces, and then you can decide to go to the spectacles that can be in the two big salles. So in a way, these are drawings of the competition. The big effort for us was how to save this this kind of void that we found there, that is very unique in this whole part of the city, because it's very packed and very dense part of the town. Put in, the big salle, you can see in the plan, these drawings were trying to, in a way, connect the big salle with the forum all the time. So when you would go up, you see in the section, you would enter, and then you enter into the forum, and then you climb up the grades, and there you can see the street, and there will be a bar there. It's called Café Baghdad, that area. Then you take the long ramp again into the fly tower, and then you move in, and then you move up to the big salle. And when you're in the big salle, you can still climb the grades and arrive to the terrace, which will be open air. So in a way, you are climbing all the time. The section is this kind of vertical condition of the building, which for us was very important, because it's very dense, as I said, and so it's important to go up into the light. So the big salle is here under this shed kind of form roof. This sheds give light. They can give light to the interior of the salle, as you can see here in the section. So if you take this roof, you have the big salle. Then you have this lateral building. This building is a building that allows all the rest to work. There will be the dressing rooms there, the technician rooms there, the meeting spaces for for the client, and all the you know, say the working spaces are in this building, in this kind of building inside a building. And so then we have the big, if we take the big salle away, we see the grades, a fragment of the existing ones now that will remain there as a ruin in a way. And then you can climb up into the bar, or you sit there to listen someone talking or someone whatever. So the Cage de Seine becomes a skylight that brings light down to the former stage. And so if we take these grades away, we discover the Petite Salle. All this is connected with this. You see here in this kind, what we call the rue intérieure, the kind of interior street, a shortcut between the two streets. So this connects Rue Malines with Rue Saint-Pierre. The Petite Salle is also connected very much to Rue Malines, so you can really be. This room can be activated only from the street if you want, but you can come in and cross, and in a way see a bit what's going on in the forum, in the Cage de Seine, and leave without going necessarily to go to any of the spectacles that are playing in the two salles. So here you can see the rue intérieure. This is very important for us because from one street you can see the other, because you see light and you can cross. And then while you cross, you can pass near a bar, or you see the theater, the Petite Salle, what's going on there, or you ask some information in the information point, or you may have a coffee and listen someone, rest for a while, and then leave. So it's a street condition. No? It's a public space with a topography. You climb up, and then you are always attracted by natural light from the former Cage de Seine. Here you can see all this public space. Up there in this space near the street, you find the former Café Baghdad, which is in the left. You see an image on the moment when it was very active in the city. So we call it again Café Baghdad. It was much more informal, without so much the tables and so, but will be a bar as well for waiting for performances or taking some drinks and go away. So this is the facade of the former building that we grow up with this. We extend the light of the lamp as well, and then we grow with a big salle on top. You see the roof is a very fragmented condition. It's also attending the fragmented condition of the surrounding. Is a surrounding that have been growing with these hotels and offices around us. So the building also grows to be near the neighbors as well, but at the same time, with the terrace and fragments of roofs, is trying to get to the scale of what we have around. This is the actual condition. See here the Cage de Seine. All this wall and roof will have a big window now, bringing light in, because before, as a flight tower, of course, it was opaque. And then fragment of this terrace will become the terrace of the new Variétés, and the big salle will be somehow here. So when these windows will be there, the Cage de Seine will become a place that brings light down, but also will be a place that connects with the terrace. So it could be performances, or can be a presentation of a disc, or a launching of a book, or whatever. It could be part of the festivals, could be there. This is the Cage de Seine today. And then, so here we are in the section looking in the other side. No? So you have the light from the street, the light from the roof, and the big light from the light well. So, and this axonometric drawing shows the three spaces that they were asking are in color. The upper one is the big salle. The lower one in orange, or in kind of a brick color, is the Petite Salle. And in between, we have this space, which is the big forum that is open to everyone. But also the axonometric shows a space which is not programmed, which is the upper terrace here. That is something that, in a way, the project offers, which is a place that also can be occupied, rented, or used simultaneously to the activities. So that the 4 places could be activated simultaneously. You can have shows everywhere at the same moment. So this is the facade, the former one extended into with a new one, which we need now much higher, and the letters there. In this case, the building, the facade is listed because it's this building from the CIM, and is the Victor Bourgeois He's an architect that his architecture is valued to be listed. So we have to continue, but we have to keep this facade and renovate in a good state. The case of Sala Beckett was not the same. As Eva was saying, the building was not listed. So in this case, all the remains of the the abandonment of the building, we also wanted to leave it. We didn't want to restore the building to a former state. We thought that the abandonment and the years of decadence of the building was also part of the life of the building, not just the cooperative. So all this moment in between was important, and the new Sala Beckett all together in one. So you can see here the scars, the traces of the degradation of the building are still there. You can see some signs of occupation because of the letters, and because, of course, you see some light and something in there, and you see the face of Beckett inside, and you understand that some new things are going on. But the building is still in ruin, and you can get to it very close, because in a way you find familiar to it, and then you recognize all the past of the building in there. And just to finish, I show you I explain you one story which was very moving, very interesting for us, which because it was one of the playwrights, one of the teachers of the Sala Beckett team. When Sala Beckett opened the building, he thought that with his students to make a call to the neighbors that had something to do with the building, former cooperativists or new generations of cooperativists that were living around, to come and explain these students of theater stories that had to do with the former cooperative. And they were doing so during 4 Saturdays afternoon. They were explaining things, memories, and things that they remember from their parents or grandparents of the cooperative. And then students were taking notes. And after 3 months, they transformed these stories into fictions, very short fictions of 10, 15 minutes only. And they called back all the neighbors and public of the city, and they were starting to perform all around the building. So there were 15 little plays all around the building, performed by these students of theater that were dedicated back to the neighbors. And it was full of people from, former cooperativists, and people or sons of them. And they were playing in the bar, in the vestibule, in the dressing rooms, in the upper patio, and all over. And they were explaining stories, laughing and dancing. It was a very joyful moment, but at the same time very moving, because the neighbors then realized that they could come back to the building, and the building was waiting for them again. So for us was very, very also very moving, because we could see that we in a way had done this community in time, not only of the people of the theater, but with the several generations that had passed there before. So it was a community of people, but a community in time as well. And it was a moment where the speaker starts, and they, and the story restarts again, and he say, "Attention, attention, the show is going to start."
Escenari de cartró que va quedar dipositat davant teu damunt les flaçades. Tenia el taló caigut i et van indicar que tu mateix l'aixequessis. I així descobrim ara tot un univers de rompiments i talons pintats, el mar i el cel. Dins d'una capsa. Quantitat de personatges habitaven aquell àmbit, hieràtics, però movibles gràcies a unes tixes de cartró corts. Per primera vegada. Un moment abans de decidir-te, un moment abans de donar l'ordre, contemplaves l'escenari com ho tornes a fer ara i resolies que tot aquell bullit incipient de formes, figures i colors podia ser la cosa més bonica del món. I és així com et vas perdre, perquè perquè t'havies ficat massa dins. I quan el valor es va tancar, com ho fa ara, darrere teu.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for this wonderful talk. Two great projects. I was impressed by or interested in the idea of these two adaptive reuse projects being linked to theater spaces, and kind of also the some of the similarities between scenography and the kind of work that you do around adaptive reuse and kind of playing with the materials of the space. So thank you very much for that. So as I said in the chat, please share your questions with the speakers. I'm gonna moderate them. You're welcome also to, I'll allow you to talk, but the first one is an anonymous attendee, so I don't know who it is, so I'll just read it. But then after that, I can give you, so that we can have a bit more of a discussion. But the first question is, what are your favorite materials to use when making prototypes and models like this, like the ones you showed?
Okay, this one is, we work now a lot with chipboard, cardboard, a gray one that we found in two shops nearby the studio. But we had a long period of years working with balsa wood, and we love balsa. But I remember once there was a young architect from Germany that started working with this cardboard, and we like it also, so we keep it, and it's more economic also, so because we make a lot of tests. And now we keep with, well, in fact, we have changed into a white foam lately, because we have a young architect from Japan working with us for 1 year, and it was a material he used to work with in models.
He handled very well, so we moved into this.
Yeah, so it's more, we changed, but yeah, we choose very kind of cheap materials that we can cut and take apart. And the most difficult thing is how to divide the model.
The thing is that
you make the fragments,
exactly.
That they can be open, and yeah.
Yeah, we do the models in the office, as you saw our workshop, and they are very fragmentary pieces normally, as Eva was saying now. So the interesting thing is that the material allows you, depends also on the scale, of course. If you have to be a big piece, maybe then you need a big cardboard or thicker one. If little bits, also sometimes could be chipboard, can be very fine things. So it depends on how fast you want to make it and how strong they have to be. But the thing is that they are not meant to be for presentation, even if later they become material for presentation many times, so we use them. But this is not the beginning of the story. Normally they are material that we have, and we like to work it because they are fast and easy to, to glue and etc. And then they are in, yeah. But they could be chipboard and balsa, as Eva was saying.
Okay. Then the next question is from Muataz. So Muataz, I'll allow you to talk, and you can ask your question directly.
Hello. I really like the work. Great work. Very interesting. And I like the hand drawings. I'm a third-year student, and we never had a chance to do hand drawings. I always liked them, but I was wondering if you guys ever used the computer, and if you did, how did you use it? And yeah, that's all. Thank you so much.
Nice question. Yeah. Well, we have some computers in the office. We don't know how to use them, but we have them in the office. Now, yeah, look, the computer is a tool. It's a very useful tool mainly for communication with other collaborators and with the builder. And there's a moment in the project where everything comes into the computer, And the AutoCAD, these programs allow you, of course, is kind of a common language, and allow you to exchange the material and activate this collaboration with the other advisors and partners in the case of Belgium. But the hand drawing is always present in all the moments of the project, even in the final ones, and all the time. At the beginning, more for trying to think what the project should be about, but then still when the project is more advanced, for us, hand drawing is a way of reflecting on what we see in front. So in a way, when you see something and you react to it, you react, you see and you think something, and then you, in a way, comment what you have in front with your pencil and with your hand. Because the hand and the mind has this kind of so strong and close relationship, so direct. In a way, the drawing is reflecting what you're thinking. It's making visible what you're thinking. And when making it visible, allows the thought to go ahead. Because if you don't take out what you're thinking in front of you, you cannot really, in our opinion, you can't really make it move on. So when you think, you say what you think with your pencil, others can participate in that and start a conversation, and they, at the time, they draw as well. And so it's kind of a thinking together with the pencil. So, and it has this kind of very direct condition, very related to intuition as well, and to the instinct. Which many times you don't know really why, you have the feeling that some things should be that way, but then you draw until you find, the necessary articulation. There are many things about proportion, distance, or that they don't have a number, or they don't have you don't know how much is, but then you know that you want things to be closer or farther away, etc. And these, the pencil and your mind, in a way, try to look for that, and then you measure up. But the AutoCAD instead is asking you all the time how much, an offset of how much, and maybe you don't know. So it's very difficult to have this kind of intuitive movements with an AutoCAD sometimes, because they are asking you for measurements and you don't know how much should be at the beginning. Or many times it's more moving about, about what you feel the space should be, and not not about specific measurements. I don't know if I'm clear with that.
I think when you were talking, I think it's easier. You can draw by hand. You can draw it more easily in certainties, and the computer is a tool thought much more for production. So it asks you, measurements and solutions. And there is a moment in the project that you can draw it by hand, because you draw doubts and uncertainties, something that it's not that easy with the mouse. So I think the computer is a great tool, but the only thing is the programs haven't been adapted yet, to be more intuitive and more attractive to us. I think they are much more focused into production, for sure, and into solutions. But what we are interested in reflection and this option that every project is research, like Jose was explaining for our introduction. So I think that's why we use hand drawing, because we research and
the research many times has this kind of doubtful, as I was saying, moments that and uncertainties and coming back and forth. And the drawing is a very nice tool, because it's like thinking. Drawing is thinking, in fact. It's a way of thinking.
And it's at the beginning of the initial moments of a project, but also at the end, as Ricardo was saying, we make our documentation folder, has also some drawing by hand of the construction details, because also we draw them by hand, also to orientate ourselves with the scale, because something that doesn't work in the computer is that it doesn't have a scale. So to make sure what you see and how you talk with the builder and you show the detail, we draw them by hand. Sometimes they have to come into computer, but to organize it, so the people in the office, there are moments that they are drawing by hand on the table. And when we are at school, when we teach, we ask students to work by hand, because we like the atmosphere of the studio full of hand drawings and everyone knows what's going on the other table. It's much more public work than if you draw with the screens, that it gets more autonomous. No? And we love the atmosphere of being together in a class and the kind of this market of ideas around the tables. That's very nice. And in the studio also, we like it when models and hand drawings are outside. And if not, we print a lot from the computer to take it out of the screen and see it on the table and share it.
We have tons of questions, so I'll let Teresa talk.
We have to be faster then.
Yes,
no?
we will.
Hi,
Hi.
thank you for selecting me. I'm just wondering, I love the dance that you moved a lot of interior fenestration to the outside on the exterior fenestration as well. Wondering how was that process like? Did you have to sort of adopt the existing interior window or door to become an exterior application? How do you go about doing that?
Well, yes, the doors and the windows in the case, in fact, the reuse was of many other things as well. It was also tiles, roses, handrails, etc. But in the case of doors and windows, many times they were used for they had to also sometimes be enlarged because they were, passing to be in a corridor that needed to be wider. So one of the challenges was how to reuse them and how to adapt them to exterior, as you say, to become from interior to an exterior, or from something wider to a smaller one, and so on. Some parts of some windows or doors were rotten, were in very degraded conditions, so they had to be restored. But only the bits that were rotten we thought to change, not all the rest. So it was a very delicate and one-to-one decision. Each time you look the door, and
with the carpenter,
and then if you had to reduce it or make it shorten or wider, etc., you had to decide how to do it and not to lose the proportions. That is the magical thing of the beauty of the door or the window with the glasses, etc., had this proportion, which is very, very special. And then so you had to draw it again, and by drawing it, because we had done before in the inventory, we knew it a bit, but then redrawing it and trying to adapt it or extend it, you try to respect the proportions or the conditions of the play of the element.
There was a major change in a lot of doors of the first floor because for acoustic and structural reasons, we had to raise the level like this, 30 centimeters. So a lot of doors that stay in the same spot had to be cutted. So that's what the operation that we discussed with the carpenters, how we do it, how the structure, the vertical edges, it's better not to cut them. So basically a lot of the operation consisted in opening the window, cutting from the high part that has less decoration, and ensemble the window again. But these windows the carpenters were able to open them in the 4 pieces came apart. So they adjust and they close them again and they put them. It was nice, but we need the help of the carpenters who know better than us, how a door is built and how can you disbuild it and build it again. So.
Fayrooz is next.
Hi.
Hi.
Thank you so much for the wonderful presentation. It was very incredible just kind of hearing how your process evolved. You talked about the many ways in which the spirit of the space was revived, not just architecturally, but really the stories that took place in the spaces that you worked with. And you did that through working with the original materials and architectural features like the windows. But I'm curious, what were some of the challenges that you had beyond those with the architectural documentation and the logistics of moving windows and doors and whatnot?
Well, the challenges, in fact, came from everywhere, because this building, as Eva said, it was in the case of Sala Beckett, it was in a very, very weak, let's say, fragile condition. It had been abandoned. Also, the Variétés building in Brussels is giving us the same issue, because in fact there are buildings that you don't know really if they are going to resist a future use. Even if we want to make adaptive reuse, or we want to give a second life to things, because we think that they are able to be adapted with new programs. many times, as Eva explained, in certain moment, you have the challenge of if that has to be modern contemporary theater, the conditions of this activity are very rigorous in terms of acoustics, in terms of climate, and especially the theater of Sala Beckett, of Samuel Beckett, is about silence. So these rooms have to be in complete silence, even if in the next door room they are playing music on the bar is going on, etc. So how to isolate and how to reinforce structurally the building and acoustically and then make it work very in a very 21st century condition of the theater. But at the same time, the big challenge was how not to lose the charm of those buildings. So you had to make it technically efficient and performative, but at the same time, how to make it look like nothing happened there. So one of the things that very funny things or very nice things that the director was saying at the end is say, look, here we did so many things, everything came upside down and you took everything away and in again and the light, etc. And this looks like nothing happened here. And this for us was very flattering in a way, was very nice because in a way, the big challenge is how do you use this ruin and leave it as a ruin when you pass there and you reinforce and everything and you put all the technique inside, but nobody notices. If you go to Sala Beckett, you cannot see the tubes of the air condition, you cannot see the reinforcements of the structure, you cannot see the light, the electricity, all the things that make that center work. You don't see, you see the ruin, you see the abandonment, you see all the moving elements that were there are still there. So for us, the challenge was how to enter in that old house, like if you were entering your grandmother's house that was full of dreams and stories, and you touch and you change everything, you adapt everything, and when you leave, still is your grandmother's house, and the ghosts are still there, and they haven't vanished. I don't know if this answers your question or I confuse you more, but.
Thank you.
That was great. Thank you.
Yeah, the next one is Benjamin.
Hi, thank you very much for the presentation. It was really inspiring. I was wondering, you showed a lot of things that you kept in the building that were already there, but I was wondering for the new parts that you brought in for the two projects. Have you ever wondered, or did you ever brought materials from other buildings, like reused secondhand materials from other buildings? Because when you start talking about the project in Brussels, I immediately thought you would be working with Rotor. Maybe you know their work in Brussels. And I was wondering if you, yeah.
No, well, what happens in Brussels, what happens in Brussels is, as you, I think you are suggesting, the building has not so many elements to recuperate. All these doors and windows and tiles and many elements that were in Sala Beckett, they are not in Variétés. So it's much more difficult to reuse elements but the nice thing of Variétés is this big void. So in a way, what we are keeping there is something immaterial, is the empty space, is how to recuperate that. And that is a big challenge in that case, how not to lose that empty space, because it's really breathtaking. And when you enter there, you cannot imagine that this space is in there hidden, no? Regarding the materials, we don't know yet. We haven't arrived to the situation of deciding, but yeah, we don't have those things on site as we had in Sala Beckett, and we have to figure out how we do that.
It's true. We have been making reuse of elements of the same building. Sometimes in the windmill in Mallorca, we use stones that we found on the fields nearby that were not from the building but were useful for us. But we haven't replaced. I don't know.
We are in theory or in principle, we are not for using things from everywhere else. We try to keep the things that are in the building because they have a story of the place and they explain things that of the use of the building before. No, the tiles are because they are, they are old, and that you can see that they've been used there before, the doors and so on. So we are not sure if using things from the city, like a rotor that is collecting all this material, but
it hasn't been the case until now.
But we don't know yet. If we have another lecture in 1 year, you will find out.
Great.
Thank you for the question, though.
Yes.
Next, Jeremy. And
hi, amazing projects. The first one where you guys reuse the windows and doors and tiles is incredibly ambitious. I've worked in residential construction for a while, so I can't even imagine that. I'm going to kind of change my question a little bit based on your previous answers. How do you go into a project like this and like financially plan or schedule or anything? 'Cause I feel like it has to be constantly changing. I don't know, I feel like the logistics have to be crazy. So I'd be curious to see your thoughts on that side.
Well, in this case, it was crazy that because we won a competition with a project of 8 million euros, and then we drew it kind of quickly, very fastly. In 1 year and a half, we had it drawn. It was quite intense. And then once it was drawn, suddenly there were no funding from the public government that was going to give money. It was 2011, 2012.
It was a big crisis. Yeah.
Okay, there was no answer from the administration that at the beginning said, we will go for this project and we help you and you have 8 million. So then the theater director couldn't stop. No, he had this necessity of having a new venue, had to leave the previous one. So he started working with us saying, okay, I think I can get 1 million. What can we make for 1 million? And for about 3 months, we were from 1 million, 1.5 million, 2 millions. Then with 2 millions, okay.
No, 2.5 at the end.
At the end, 2.5, but I think we started with 2 millions. And we started drawing a project that had to abandon a lot of the ambition of the project that we won the competition with had residentials for artists to invite, like 7 small apartments on the roof. So we were growing the old building. We have to abandon this. We have to abandon a second rehearsal room, very big room.
And a basement.
And a basement full of storage. So yes, so the ambition went down. We felt very sorry because this director of Sala Beckett seems someone that is a very valuable person in town. So it was great I think he would have organized a great space there. So we moved to 2.5 million. So this was a main concern. Then later when we put the budget in 2.5 million, it happens to be like this. I mean, we stick on it. The builder was a very crazy, was 2-speed. I mean, it was 15 months to finish this. So it meant that when we were reinforcing the foundations, we hadn't finished reinforcing foundations for this building, for the new structural code, and that there was a plaster man on the first floor. It was like crazy, the amount. It's not a very big building. It's 3,000 square meters. We had for a few months 80 people working in it. So it meant that Ricardo and we decided, okay, we spend the whole morning here, 5 days a week, 6 hours. So of course, our budget was, we didn't make the numbers of our own honorary fees, but I mean, it was great. And you felt so kind of so responsible. We loved the project of Sala, the theater project of Sala Beckett, the cultural project of them. We get to know the building and we love the building. So we knew we needed to be there because of the tiles were not placed perfect. So we stayed there the whole morning for the mortar not to get dry and lose some of these tiles. We have just a few of them. So yeah, we managed.
The thing is, the builder took this strategy of going very, very fast. Not to lose money in a way, or to try to do that for that budget. But we had to stick on that because we didn't have any more money to spend, so we had to keep in the 2.5 millions, and finally we we managed.
We have worked mainly for the administration, so we always have this close budget, and you have to manage. So you have a cost project manager and someone who control the cost. So every week, there is a control. We are okay. What we have, if you have to forget to do something, then you do it. So it worked out.
So I unfortunately will have to cut us quite soon, but I have one last question from Ignacio that I think is a great end for the discussion. So, Ignacio.
Hello, Ignacio. Hola, Ignacio.
Hola, ¿qué tal, Ricardo?
Bien, bien.
Hola.
¿En English or Spanish?
Yes,
I'm afraid so, yes.
¿Cómo?
I'm afraid so, yes. We have to do
Okay, sorry. Well, sorry for my English at first. And thank you for the discussion. It was really, really good. You said that Sala Beckett was not listed at the beginning. What about now?
It's not listed.
Still not listed. But yeah, it's a very interesting question what you're asking, because not because now has to be listed or not, but the thing that they didn't list a building that has had so much story in the neighborhood. For us, and it happens all the time in many parts of the city, is a big mistake, because you could demolish. In fact, in the competition, we were the ones who thought, okay, this ruin has to move on. We have to keep it, because is rooted in the memories and the stories of so many families around, and it belongs so much to the neighborhood that it's impossible to turn it down. So it had this kind of it's an emotional heritage more than a physical heritage, if you want. But the municipality doesn't work like that. They just look at the building. Yeah, it is not so valuable. You can turn it away, turn it down. And for us, it's a big loss when these buildings go down. So it was, and so it was a big challenge also to decide to keep it, because, as I said, you had to accomplish many difficult conditions in terms of technical conditions. So you risk a lot when you say I will keep it, because you can say, yes, I win the competition, I keep it, and what happens is later the building doesn't resist, or doesn't work for you, or doesn't resist the acoustic, all these adaptations. So it was a big challenge that you make, but for us was obvious. We had to move on with it. It was impossible for us to think in turning it down. So your question is key in the sense of what do you list and what you don't, and
but also yes, and we can think also that it's key in the sense that sometimes probably if it had been listed, it depends on the degree of listed, probably wouldn't have this freedom. Because I remember we present this project one day in a class of restoration, and the students that were already very much in the doctrine of restoration, they found it kind of wild that we cut some of the tiles in trapecio to make the curve. A lot of questions were about this, how you touch it and why, you transform it. So then you realize also that what's the point? Sometimes if you have some freedom, you can preserve, you can make things work for longer. If you have this freedom to adapt it, like this, like this second-hand clothes, that it's not something super untouchable, but you can adjust it, and then people will use it for a longer time. So it's something that you don't know. What's the best?
Thank you. So I was gonna say I'll pass it on to Jose, who wanted to say a few words.
A few words, okay. That would be what Jose. But thank you so much. We have Eva and Ricardo many more questions. It's always, you guys are so engaging and provocative. When you mentioned the idea of the memories, but also to cut a tile, it came to my mind a visit many years ago that we had with you after going to Eva's favorite restaurant. I don't recall the name. Don something.
Pescador.
Say again.
Fisherman. Es
Well,
pescador.
I
You had
can't-
Casa Leopoldo. This was
Casa Leopoldo. We walked through that area that was the older quarter, but they were cutting this pedestrian area. And I still remember you were hurting so much. You were, I mean, those apartments were like bombed. Eva, you were saying they are letting all these things go, and it were kind of garbage on the street, and you kept trying to collect everything that was in those containers. I still always remember that. I wanted to end, I mentioned three elements, and I wrote that one that I thought would be good for the end. I think that is the quality of the unfinished in your work. That is something that one of the question was about how you do this slow work, working against the tendency of going fast and so on. So I think there is something very valuable in your presentation, that is that you are inspiring and provoking many ideas in our students and in the professionals that will remain echoing. Since everything is unfinished, we hope some of the individuals visiting today and dialoguing with you will visit you, and of course it would be always lovely to have tapas and cava with you in that tall building where I get very dizzy. And thank you very much. We are in studio time now, and if Olivier or Ray or you want to say a few things, then we have to go and get to work, people, because we teach also. It was lovely to see you. Thank you so much.
It was very nice to be here. Thank you for the invitation and the questions.
It was our pleasure, and we are so glad to see you, and thank you for having us.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
And I see tons of thank you in the chat, so thank you from everyone. No, we can't clap, but we're clapping virtually, so thank you again.
All right,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye.